Okay, so two colours we're going to be using down here, XF85, okay, and XF17. They're the standalone colours, and then what we'll do is we'll fade in and we'll modulate those colours just a little bit. So to start off with, we are coming in with that black. Now this is a brand new bottle, it's had a damn good whiz up. So what we're doing at the moment is just making sure you've got no overhang of any tape that sometimes can overhang down onto your model. We're all clear and all good, so that's good. Okay, so we just need to do a very quick colour clean out of the airbrush because, to be honest, we've still got some of the old stuff in here. Being black, it doesn't really matter. Any other colour that you put in here, maybe you want to get it sorted and out and everything else, but with a black, really, it's not a biggie. Okay. Okay, so let's just get those in there. Tip that. Okay, we're just going to grab a cloth, rub around it here. Make sure we're nice and clear. Another quick flow through. Happy that's going fine. Okay, again, sounds good, no problem. So with this, because we're going down on here and we're going to be doing all the paint work as a post effect rather than a primary effect, okay, what we can actually do is just pop in with, first of all, pop the thinners just down in here with really a 50-50 mix. You could do it a little bit more. We're losing my colour cup here, that's whilst that's been leaking. Okay, so we just screw that on there. Clean that. Alright. Grab a little cleaning brush. Good old mix in the colour cup. Again, it's not mass important, this one. The next one will be a little bit more important and things like that. Just pop the lid on here. Okay. Alright, so we just check our flow. Sounds good, flowing good, no problem at all. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start down the back and then we'll work our way to the front, okay? So just start with a little bit blue to start, but that's that old colour coming through. Okay, it's looking very dry and very flat, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with it for the moment and then we'll rethin the paint once it's got a coat down. The reason for it doing this is because the paint is very, very thick, okay? So it's going to give you a textured type finish, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with that just for doing around the masked edges because that will minimise any spill getting into it by using a slightly thicker paint. Okay, so we're just going to go, say, first coat everywhere. Just on again, just making sure you get your edges all nice and controlled, and then down around these engines. The thicker paint's slightly better because you can get in amongst it. Okay, we're just going to work it across the engine. And like we said before, it doesn't have to be anything too fancy. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hit the extractor. Drawing. Okay, there we go, taking our time. So this knows well what we're going to do. We're actually going to come back and treat that afterwards. Actually coming through a little bit nicer now, that paint. So a little bit of a thicker coat. This way it gives it time to self-level, sort itself out. say the rear engines, things like that, I wouldn't honestly worry too much about. We will take care of all of that a little bit later. Okay. Tops. Okay. So again, we can't put it down flat, so just being careful where you hold it and everything else. Just out of paint before we get to the end, always the way. Okay, so what we're going to do, just put another little drop in here, but we're going to make it a lot wetter this time. So when we say wetter, probably 2/3 thinners to 1/3 paint. And because we've got a thinner paint, we can now lower the air pressure a little bit, so we'll see how that sounds. So yeah, it's hissing a good one, so we can actually turn the air pressure down just a little bit. Okay. Quite a tricky one to handle, this. So you might hear now it's not anywhere like we had before, but it's still quite wet, so it means we can get in closer. And this will give us a nice smooth paint finish because it's nice and wet. And this, I think, really is a nice colour anyway, but if you were ever any doubt about the colour on its own, in a moment you'll be able to see it. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to just hit this with a hairdryer, just to speed things up. It's on a cool setting, but I won't do it near the spray bay because I don't want to put air everywhere and knock up dust. So we're just going to do this off camera. Okay, so now we have it, as you can see, looking very nice, very black and everything else, no problem at all with that. So very happy there. So what we're going to do now is a little bit of tinting. Now tinting, slightly different to fading or sort of, you know, modulating colours and all that type of thing. Tinting is just where you actually change the physical colour, okay? So from our case, we're coming in with dark sea blue, which is XF17. The great thing about this is it will give a slight blue hue and it will give a more reflective look. Now the thing is with this, like everything though, when we're doing this type of work, you want to thin it, okay? And then we're going to come in with the blue. Okay, so it's probably now 2/3 thinners to 1/3 of paint, okay? So we'll mix this around. As I say, we're not changing the colour cup or cleaning out or anything else like that. We're just going to go straight in. The colour cup's empty, but now we can come in. So it will start off black and straight away we go to a blue shade like that. Okay, same air pressure. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pop around. Sorry. Okay, we're going to pop around, lower the air pressure, and we're just going to come in and we're just going to put some sort of squiggles and lines and various things in here just to give a slight change to things as they're going on. Okay, and the great thing is with this paint you can see what you're doing. Okay, as we go through, so we're just going to come out, we're going to put some panel lines in here. Okay, we've got some panel lines, so we're going to just change those a little bit. And this blue will just add a little bit of something else that's going on. Okay, so that's those, and it will just slightly break things up. Okay, so again, we're just popping along the panel lines back here. This one down the middle. Okay, so just the odd little area. Around these gear doors, go more over the door because we're not going to use it, but it's a good way of coming in with those. And again, we're just going to do that centre around that panel. Okay, the centre section, we'll get a little bit of this running over it. Just following around panels, doing little bits. Okay, and it's just to change the hue of it all. Okay. Then this is like phase one of many that we'll do in a moment. And then again, some nice little, I think I'm slipping on the L there. Nice little squiggles and patterns because we're just trying to break this up just a touch. And then again, a little bit down here, a little bit round in here, a little bit up there, a little bit underneath. And it's just to draw the eye away from, quite frankly, the obvious. Okay, but it's that thing. Sometimes the obvious, if it stands out too much, it's there. If you don't notice it, it's not obvious, but it's hiding in plain sight. Okay, and that's the thing, we're putting dark blue over it. As you see, hopefully you can actually see the difference that makes. Okay, so it's tinted the original colour, it's just knocked it back off a layer and everything else like that. All right, so now what we're going to do is actually come back in with a little bit of black. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll tip this back in here because it's just the same colour. Okay, no, where's the royal blue. I want to make sure we get the royal blue and our blacks not mixed up. Okay, make sure we got the right lids for each as well. Alright, so we just blow that through, that blue, get rid of that. Okay, we're not going to clean the colour cup again, so what we're going to do is quite a lot of thinner, so 2/3 thinners to whatever what you're doing down below. We're going to go a tiny little bit of black, okay, back the original, and what we're going to do is just going to add a drop of grey to it to just sort of knock it off, and for that again we're going to use a little bit of medium grey. Okay, and again we're talking brushfuls rather than everything else. Okay, so we're just going to grab a brushful here into here and we're going to knock off a shade. So this has got a little bit of blue in there, a little bit of off black, plenty of thinners and a tiny bit of a buff grey. Okay, and again, subtlety, just keep it all subtle. Okay, blow through that, happy with that. Now this is going to be a squiggle but more centres of panels. Okay, and again, the whole time you're just trying to break things up. Okay, so squiggles, centres of panels. Okay, it is that thing, it's just a finite area, just mottling, doing little things. Okay, a little bit of side to side work across here. And again, you can use this for corrections. So if you've got anywhere it's a little bit perhaps not as you would like, you can just overcoat. And we're just trying to knock this side back a little bit again. And again, this is because it's thin, it's going to take loads of coats to start changing things. So don't think you're in one pass going to be making a huge difference, so you don't have to worry about it too much. Okay, because you are going to have to pass over this over and over and over. And again, hopefully you can see it's starting to come through. So down in here we're just going to do a little bit, and then because it's a round surface, this flicking motion that we do up and down just to accentuate that sort of rounded look to things. They're quite nice and tight. side. And again, we're trying to get them to go more faded the further down they go. So again, whoops. And again, not having a colour cut comes back and strikes me. Luckily, it is right on the edge. Hope that doesn't bleed through. Note to self, colour cut lid on. Okay. And then last pass, just this one down here. Okay, so that's really looking nice down there, and then obviously you can come in if you want now. Let's see, that air pressure's way high here, it's screaming. Lower than that. Okay, I must order my new Mac valve. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just going to pick out some little areas, some little shapes, some various things going on. This area here, I'm going to slightly blend it where we made the spill. Again, we're just trying to add everything right over this. Just a little more over the middle. Okay, and there we go. It's that thing. When you think you're there, stop. I think we're roughly there, so we're going to stop. Now, various things we're going to do to this yet. We're going to sand it, we're going to put further coats on, a little bit of post shading, things like that. Anything we want to do on this one, but that's actually looking quite nice down there, just like that. Final thing, if you wanted to, now you can come back with just pure black and just touch in around the actual panel lines if you actually wanted to. Okay, so from that point of view, what we're going to do is, we've got quite a bit in here, so we're going to dump that into here, because we might come back and use that. Okay, blow out the original. Quick colour swap out as well, so a tiny little bit of thinners just down in here, just to brush around, just to get it in. Clean out what we've got just down there, because we don't want anything that's going to really lighten this. Okay, let's just go back for that. Okay. So you see, nice clean airbrush. So what we're going to do is just going to pop back in with a mix. We're not going to need any gallons, tiny little bit of thinners, 50-50 mix. Okay, just down into here. And this is that original colour we started out with. And then what we're going to do is, let's come on there, we're just going to do the panel lines with it. Okay, so down in here, we can go right over the actual panel lines. You don't have to do them all, but this will just darken them slightly to give that effective shading. Okay. And again, it's all to do with this three-dimensional look that you're trying to get. Just flip around these doors. Okay. Midsection again, just going to do it slightly darker. Okay. Again, just a little bit in there. And by every layer you put in, all you're doing is adding depth. More depth to your paint, more realism, looks more realistic. Okay, and it's just subtleness. Don't try and go in there. I'm not a fan of heavy duty weathering, especially this new technique of bleaching stuff out. I really don't like it. Okay, that's a little bit heavier just on these. I'm not doing them all, just picking out a couple of little areas just to darken up, just dry down, just to add a little bit more depth to the paintwork. Last bit just up around here. Draw that down, and there we go. That is the black, all blacked in. Nice, different changes, slightly subtle and everything else. Now, if you wanted to, you could come in with chipping, post form, do it with sponge, freehand, stuff like that. Okay, but until we sort of get a feel for how the mottling's going to go and everything else like that, I'm quite happy to just stay as we are with that type of finish. So what we're going to do now is unmask it, see exactly what we got, and move back over to the bench. Okay, so with slight delay because we are just waiting on some paints. We're actually going to spray all the mottling with MRP as we know, so I've done a little bit of delay tactic on this one. On the underside, as you can see, it's looking a little bit more shiny. What we've done is give this a coat of Future just to seal it down. It's going to be lying down on here, it's going to wear through the paint. It's just a way of protecting it. Also, we did it from quite a mid-distance away, so when you're spraying Future on, if you go quite close, obviously you're going to get nice and glossy. The further you are, higher air pressure, the more of a satin finish you're going to get. So that's actually what we've gone with. So we've got plenty of texture there, still to play with things as we make our way through with weathering, stuff like that. At the same time, we've gone along and really taken care of all the stuff. So fuel tanks, we've gone in and we've cleaned those up and everything else. When you get this little seam running just down the side like here, okay, and it can be a right royal pain to try and clean these up. These are absolutely invaluable for it. Okay, get yourself a little set of diamond files. These are like jewelry makers ones. Dirt cheap, really. You're going to be paying, I don't know, maybe £5–10 tops for these. But I've had these ones for absolute ages. And because I use them for little jobs, they last forever. But what you can actually do is just pop it in the side and just give it a little sand each side. And then that way you can make them pretty much seamless to where they actually are. And it's a great way of getting around raised detail without destroying the finish and everything else like that. Now with these two, we've done them black. To be honest, what I'm probably going to do is heavily weather them. They seem to be one of these things where they're carried pretty extensively on there, but I'm thinking it's going to get weathering. So what we're going to do is when we do the underside, these are going to get chipping, but these are going to get even more because we're going to look like they've taken off, put back on, things like that as we make our way through. The refueling point for these is also at the top, so I imagine people will be leaning over them all the time to refuel those fuel tanks. Also, we've gone down and we've taken care of the tyres. Now these were just a straight case of literally just cutting them off. Their flat spot is already down at the bottom, and then we have sprayed them tyre black. Now the reason for doing them tyre black is because you can actually rub them. Now you might see the difference between the two. This one has been done, all you do, the oils off your hands and your fingers, just rub it. So what you do, you just go along and just use all those oils to polish everything up. So if you go around and you polish the tread, okay, right the way round, okay, and it's one of those few times where oily sticky hands are the best you can have really for this. Okay, so you just go around like this and you're polishing it in. Now we are going to add a little bit further to it, but now you can see it's got a little bit of shine to it. Actually looks a little bit more like an authentic rubber tyre than anything else, but the hubs are black. So actually what we needed to do is do these different. So we've actually done these in a satin finish right the way over this, which looks a little bit more glossy when you put them up, but then what happened is these will go in like this, and that way you can see a difference between the rubber and the actual hub itself. So we need a good clear distinction. Obviously if we just come in there and put in there just straightforward colours, what's going to happen is you're not going to notice the hub. So we need to see the hub. So we've made the hub, that's why I've done it in a satin and not a matte, just so it stands out a little bit more. But again, it's going to have further weathering, pigments and various things on it like that. Same time we've gone along and we've done the flaps. So the underside of the flaps you can see, the top half there done, ready to be installed. We've also done the slats as well. So we've done RLM02 on the underside of those with the green on the top, just like that, and the other mid flap as well, the early one. The doors, exactly the same thing, so flat black on the outside and then obviously RLM02 on the inside. So we've done all of those right the way through. We've also been working on the actual gear itself. So actually what we've done, we've got those all sprayed RLM02. So what we've got to do is now put in the midsection, and that's how we end up with this, which as you can probably see is a beautiful metal finish. Now how do we do that? Really simple. One of these, they're actually called a molten or molto pen, actually like this, is that's the spelling of it up the top there. Okay, absolutely fine. Liquid chrome, absolutely great stuff this. All you do, give it a good shake, make sure you mix this stuff properly first, otherwise it can come back and bite you a little bit. All right, so we've got a couple down here. So all you do, you take your pen, okay, and it is chrome. Now the whole point of this, you need to flood it on, and it is just as simple as coming in and rubbing this on. Okay, now the great thing is because it's a pen, it doesn't go anywhere you don't want it to go. Now it works better over a prime surface than it does neat plastic, to be honest. It clings better, but you can get right in these little tight areas and things like that with no problem at all. Okay, and we've actually put a little bit on there, so we need to get rid of that. And again, you can use it like a chipping. If you rub this stuff, it will come away. Okay, so we just need to do this lower part as well now, so we're just going to continue this down. As you can see, as long as it's nice and wet, you'll have no problem with this at all. Okay, and you let it self-level and go on literally just like that. And then we've got obviously things like activators and all these things. So again, you just brush this on. You can decant this, and to be honest, you can get refills of this stuff as well. Now I know there's the people out there who say that's too bright, it's too artificial, it's too shiny, but don't forget this is going to have an enamel wash over it, so that won't be a problem. Okay, and then again, all you're going to do is slightly flood it. This stuff will self-level, okay, and it goes there like that. And so we've got a couple of little dips in there, so what we're going to do is just going to pop along, flood it slightly, and you can see it self-levels off just like that. All right, really simple, easy way of doing that type of effect. Okay, and then as I say, once you're done, we've got other things done here. So that's the other one that's been finished. Dries hard as nails, no problem at all, but it does take a good few hours to actually go off. Okay, so this is the one we've done before. It's totally handleable, but you want to give this at least 12 hours to totally go off before you come near it again, otherwise it still tends to be quite soft. You can actually buff this stuff as well, and obviously if you rub it slightly with like a mild sandpaper, you can actually dull it down just a little bit. But it is a really quick, efficient way of doing any type of sort of chrome work or like suspension travel points, things like that on there, literally just like that. Okay, so with all of those done, really we're sort of at a little bit of an impasse. What we could do, we could, if we wanted to, carry on with the weathering underside, but what I want to do is sort of weather it all together. So literally I'm just going to wait for the paint to come in. Hopefully it'll be in tomorrow, and then that way we can then carry on with this. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably put the hubs in, which is a straightforward job. Get those all in. We can do the gear now, we can work on all the little bits, so literally it's just waiting, so when it is done it can all be fixed together. We're also going to start work on the aerials, the navigation lights, things like that. So again, it's all things that are in place, so literally once it's done we can move through with it. One little thing I will point out is this bit down in here, which is a total mess. This is where we spilt the paint, as you can see, and it's bled through. But again, you know me, I like every model to try and tell a story, so I'm going to leave this and I'm going to use it as weathering. So again, always think that happy little mistakes and stuff like that, this is exactly what it is about. So we're going to leave those, and then that way they're in place to give us a little bit more depth and something a little bit more interesting, draw the eye to it. And because it's a natural spill, it looks really natural, so I can play with that, a little bit of chipping around it, a little bit of fading work and things like that, and I think we'll end up with something very special. So again, if you get problems or little cock-ups in it, honestly, leave them in there. It adds character to your model.